Om Shanti. Right. How many of you have come for any previous sessions before? Okay. And have you gone through the 7-day meditation course here? Yes. How many? Wow. Fantastic. What have you learned in that? If you can give me a synopsis or a gist of whatever you remember, who have attended the course? Okay. 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 Who am I? Okay. Who is? Okay. Who is the driver? Right. And yeah. And okay. Interesting. Okay. How do you heal through meditation? Right. So speaking about today's topic, it is about, being in the present, right? How many of us are in the present? How many of us face challenges being in the present? So you're all in the present and you don't have any issues. Whoever raised your hands? No? Facing challenges. Okay. Why is it difficult for us to basically stay in the present? Any inputs? You bother about the past? Okay. Non-stability of mind. Okay. Why do you bother about the past when you can't change the past? Yeah, right, it plays tricks. Okay. Yes, brother? Chattering of the mind. Okay. Any other inputs? Yes, sister? Excess thinking about future. Okay. Nice. Past activity. What activity? That is why there's a saying. They say that, they say the past is history, future is a mystery, the present is a gift. So, it's always better to stay in the present, right? So, the reason why, yes, all of you are experienced, you have your own reasons. Everybody's reasons of not staying in the present are, completely personal to themselves. But normally, what happens is there are two instances wherein someone clings on to the past and they are not able to get off the past because they've either had bad experiences or very strong experiences, or they're extremely worried about the future. Both of these things. But the problem with being in the past or worrying about the future is, unfortunately, because we are not in the present, we are not building a great future and we are messing up the present, right? It is so ironic. We worry about the future. The future is dependent on the actions that we do today and the thoughts that we take today, right? But we are not in the present. How ironic is that? So there's this small story, right? In a forest, there is a very cute looking bird, very small, very cute looking bird. It has this golden feathers, and everybody used to get attracted to it as soon as you look at it. So it has its journey, and it gets a thought that every experience that I have in this journey, I want to write it down. So what it chooses is it takes a small stone and then starts writing its experiences of that particular day with its beak, right? So one day passed, it took a small stone, wrote all the experiences, and the reason that it gave itself as to why is it that it has to basically pen down all these experiences is because it wanted, to have some good memories and bad memories and learn from the mistakes of the past and, remember good things from the past. Not bad, right? It's a decent excuse that it has given itself, a decent reason that it has given itself. So as and when days passed by, it started picking up stones and, writing down experiences with its beak. And then uh, it needed a small bag first, then the bag basically increased. So every time it basically used to fly, it had to carry this bag, right? Because it had to carry this bag, find a stone, jot down the experiences, because it's a bird. It doesn't have a home of its own. So one day, with a pretty heavy bag, it meets a very wise owl. And the owl basically says, "Why is it that you're carrying so much of burden?" It says, "No, this is not burden. These are experiences of life. For me, this is very, very important because I jot down all the good points, all the great things that have happened to me in the past. And I also jot down what are the mistakes that I've done in the past. And that's very important because, whenever anything happens, I'll refer to that, right?" So the owl asked, "How many times have you referred to it?" Valid question, right? You're jotting everything down. So the owl asked, "How many times have you actually referred to it?" The bird says, "None, because I've been able to handle every situation. But just in case, if I need it in the future, I need some, record keeping. I want to basically, refer to whatever I've written in the past." So weeks and months pass by. The bag of the stones keeps getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Soon it realized that it is not able to fly that same height that it used to, basically fly previously. It still didn't realize that the bag is weighing it down. It still kept adding stones, writing experiences. One day there was a very heavy rain, right? The wind, the rain, the weight of the bag, it ultimately collapsed, and it collapsed in such a way that the bag of stones fell on its belly and then it died, right? And the owl happened to pass by, and then it said, "Experiences are always meant to be kept in the mind as lessons so that we don't carry it into the future and get burdened by them." And unfortunately, this is what happens to every one of us. We think that these stones are very, very important. Obviously, we are not carrying physical stones like the bird. But when I talk about stones, I talk about burdening the mind. You know, every experience, bad experience that we have is basically written down in the mind, and then unfortunately, we never get past them. And whenever there's a situation, whenever there's a tufan, a storm, what happens? We ultimately are buried under our own experiences, and then it's very difficult for us to get out from that situation. So it's completely dependent on us, right? What is it that we want a situation to look? That completely depends on us. Whether we want to make a very small mole of a situation look like a mountain, or we want to make a mountain of a situation look like a mole, completely depends on how we process that situation and how we process what our strength is, what our capabilities are to get over that situation at the moment. Isn't it? You take any achievements that anybody has done, that we know of. Let's take 1954 Edmund Hillary. 53, he attempted going up Mount Everest for the first time, right? What happened? He was unsuccessful. He came back from the death zone because it was too much for him and his Sherpa to handle. But then when he came back, the experience that he took was, this is what verbatim that he told himself: "You are a mountain, you can't grow further, but I am a man, I'm going to come next year, grow mentally, and dominate you." Now, this was the attitude that he had in 1953 when he was walking back. Now imagine if he had the experience and if he wanted to take that experience of being very unsuccessful, wanting to take that experience that, "Oh my God, I think this mission would have actually killed me," because it would have killed. Every step that you take on Mount Everest is death. Every step that you take on a mountain of that magnitude is a decision that you'll have to take. There are so many forms of death that come in mountain climbing. But he never chose to take all those negative experiences. He always chose to take a positive, outlook further. He said that you can't grow as a mountain, but I will mentally grow. I think right now, the only reason why I'm not able to, go to the summit is purely because I am not mentally strong. But I'm going to prepare myself next year and then come back. What happened? 1954, he climbs Mount Everest. The first human to basically set foot on the peak, the summit of Mount Everest. In the same way, we all know our KFC Dadaji. His recipe of KFC was rejected 1009 times. Can you even imagine if we are rejected 1009 times, what is going to happen to us? What kind of attitude would we have? What kind of mentality would we have? Would we still go, with that same recipe, banging doors? No. But he always had a positive outlook. He never clinged on to the past that, I was rejected 1009 times and, it is impossible for me to see success. He made such a big problem look like a very small thing with his confidence, saying that I'm sure that, this is going to click and someday I'm going to make it big. What happens today? 48,000 stores in so many countries. So he chose to basically make, very big problem. What happens with us if we are rejected 10 times? The same idea is rejected 10 times. Forget 10 times. What if it's rejected one time? What is our mental attitude towards that? Absolutely. Like brother said, almost depression or depression. We think that, that idea is rejected by one people, which means that it is rejected by the other 8 billion people on the surface of the earth. That is the attitude that we have. Why? We cling on to the past, we cling on to the experiences. So, if I basically were to talk about different perspectives of a human mind, right? They say that in every religion that the actions that you do in the present decides your future. Any religion, it says that the actions that you perform in the present, it decides your future. You do good actions, you get good results. You do bad actions, you get bad results. It's karma. Newton's law applies here. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Plain and simple. Now, if you go a step further, let's take the scientific approach. When you basically talk about psychology, psychology also has come up with a theory of its own. It says that the thoughts that you take in the present influence your actions, and the actions that you do or make in the present influence your future. Right? What is past? What is past? At some point of time, it was the present, right? At some point of time. If you're referring to 10 years ago, I did this. 10 years ago, that was present, right? Now, let's go a step further. There's something called a spiritual psychology. What does spiritual psychology say? Spiritual psychology says that you have a perspective about a situation. The perspective of that situation that you have decides your thoughts. The thoughts then decide your actions in the present, and the actions basically decide your future, the fruit or, the repercussions that you'll basically have to bear in the future. What is perspective and how are perspectives formed? So we're going very deep. We are not talking about actions. We are not talking about thoughts. We are talking about something that influences thoughts. What is a perspective and how are perspectives formed?
It is an expectation. It is an expectation.
Absolutely. They're based on experiences. And how are experiences formed?
Through execution of lives.
The way of dealing with the challenges.
So what we are feeling, experience is formed when
The experience will come by action.
Yeah. When you're dealing with people, when you're dealing with situations, what experiences basically come from dealing. So when you're dealing in with a person or in a particular situation, what basically influences your thought or your actions in that particular situation? Okay, what is the state of mind determined by? Oh, great. What are we?
The personality which is accumulating the experiences and
Yes, but what is the belief system or the personality determined by? What is it that we use in interactions?
ego.
Ego. Okay, okay. What is ego?
Stereotype.
Okay.
The sum total of all.
What determines a perspective are either values or their weaknesses, right? Values, happiness, peace, tolerance, patience. Weaknesses, ego, anger, irritation, being jealous, being greedy, whatever it is. What what experiences us or influences us to either use weaknesses or use strengths?
Outcome of the dealing.
Fantastic. Outcome of the dealing. Let's say there is person A and person B, all right? And this person C. There are three people in the picture. Person C tells person B that person A is an extremely nasty fellow. He is egoistic, he just can't talk to him. Right? Person B was a little sensible. He didn't form any impression. He went and spoke to person A, and he's had a fantastic conversation with him. So, what is the perspective that B had on A, and what is the perspective that C had on A? Person A is the same. Perspectives are different. Why?
But in this case, B is winner.
Experience.
In this case, B is winner because of why he is having the this interaction with A and C both.
No, we are not talking about winners and losers. Yes, he has a fantastic attitude. There is absolutely he's a very wise person.
Very well.
He's not taking others' perspective and then getting into a conversation. But what is it that both C and B have used to basically have that perspective? I'd go back to the same thing. I'd say either they've used values or they've used weaknesses. As simple as that. Without forming any attitude, B probably, used a lot of patience and tolerance, and he was very peaceful. And he also found out that A also has used the same values and virtues. But C, on the contrary, was a different scenario altogether. He used his weaknesses and probably triggered weaknesses of A as well. So, when we're talking about being in the present, when we are talking about influencing the future, right? It could be in relationships, it could be in professional work, it could be any kind of, balancing any kind of situations that we are talking about. Using values and not using weaknesses determines the outcome or determines the future. It's a very deep thing. I told you the irony, right? It is very ironic that we are always worried about the future but are messing up the present. It is so ironic. We want the future to be great, but we don't do what needs to be done. I am feeling hungry. I will feel hungry at 1 o'clock, but I'm only thinking, what should I cook? What should I cook? There's no action that is being done. That is the irony of life. So, interaction with each other or dealing with a situation, always make sure that we are only going ahead and using values. Now, the other big problem is that these interactions that we have, right? Unfortunately, if we start using weaknesses, we have to atone for those weaknesses. You know what is the meaning of atonement? Atonement? You have to pay the price.
भुगतना पड़ेगा.
भुगतना padega. You have to atone. Why? It is very deep. It is connected to karma. And karma is a very, very deep thing. Karma is a very deep philosophy altogether. Like a very small thing, if there is a beggar who's asking us money, right? We say that, theek hai, bichara, I think he's going to eat something. We give him 10 rupees. With those 10 rupees, he buys a bidi and smokes. Karma and the law of karma says that because you've given him money, he's done a sinful act, and that, I wouldn't call it the fruit of that act, but the repercussions of that act will also come to him and to you, because it is you who's given him money. It is so deep, it is so subtle. Yes, intention was definitely good of the person, but there needs to be judgment that you'll have to exercise. Yeah, when you know that, that's just an example, but just pertaining to that example, when you know that beggars are not really beggars and it's a big mafia, why give them money in the first place? Supporting your view, I'll give you the same example, but two different, situations. Let's say there are two people who have a gun, both kill each person. One person kills out of spite, but the other person is an army jawan and he kills the dushman. He kills the enemy. Action is the same. Both have a gun. Both have shot people. But this becomes a sin, that becomes punya ka karma. Perspective. It's perspective, as simple as that. Right? So that is why I'm saying that perspectives, they basically decide your thoughts and thoughts decide your actions. Always have a positive perspective for the actions that you're doing. But it's a very, very tricky thing. It's a very, very fishy situation. Let's say we're talking about, yeah.
So instead of giving money to a baker, we can give food or something.
Yes. Yes. That's a much better option. It is so intricate, even if you give him a blanket, because let's say it's winter, he goes, sells that blanket for money and then does something wrong, that is also a problem. Karma is very deep. It is very, very deep. And we'll really have to be, very, very careful about the, whatever actions that we are performing. So why do I say perspective is very intricate? Now let me take an example of a father, mother, and a son. Let's say they're scolding the son. What is the perspective of the father and the mother that they're scolding the son is very important. There are two things, right? Whether you're extremely irritated with your child's behavior and then you go ahead and scold him and tell yourself, this is the worst part, you tell yourself that isko to sudharna hai na, so I have to go ahead and scold him. That is the worst part. आप खुद को धोखा दे रहे हो, right? But really, if you have the intention that, no, I think, I have to go ahead and show him the right path and, I have to give him some learning, that perception will completely give you a good result. The issue with today's thought process and today's perspectives that everybody has is they think they are correct. Everybody thinks that they are correct. मैं गलत हो ही नहीं सकता. This is the biggest problem. And they convince themselves so much, or we convince ourselves so much that we are right, that we are not able to come out of that cocoon at all. If somebody goes and tells us, this is my perspective, you will not agree to it because you're like that horse with blinders. You can only see one way, and that one way is your way. You can't see any other way. That is where perspectives take, a big problem. So we've spoken about using values in our perspectives. So for people who have taken the meditation course, let's talk about thoughts. Now my question is, how many thoughts do we get on an average? 70 to 80,000 thoughts. When I've taken my course back in 1999, the meditation course here, sister told me we get anywhere between 40 and 45,000 thoughts. Now you tell me, the more the thoughts are better or the lesser the thoughts are better? Less. Who says more? Nobody says more. Really? Why? More positive thoughts, more. No? No? Nobody says, nobody agrees to more thoughts, more good? Sorry?
Thoughts are positive, the number will automatically be less.
Wow. Fantastic. I've had no participant tell me that till date. A very deep thinking.
But the direction of thought is also important.
Yes.
Because if you want to do something, you have to think about it far, far and far. Generating that thought is also important.
Yes.
Less thought will maybe ruin your work, or maybe, less thought if something I want to do, but I'm thinking less about it. But there are many, many things, good things, bad things, all the perspectives of a certain work. Thinking about that is also important, right?
Very important. My only thing is we tend to overthink. That's all. Thinking about it is very important. So that is where the category of thoughts come, right? There are four, like there is ECG that measures the heart rate. There is something called as an EEG, which is called an electroencephalograph, that basically measures, our brain function. And that is how this number of 70,000 thoughts have basically come. So these thoughts that an average human being takes, they're divided into four different categories: positive, negative, neutral, and waste. Right? Definition of a positive thought? Like you're coming on your vehicle to Shanti Sarovar for this session. What is a positive thought?
Positive thought is to achieve the target.
No. The example is you're coming on your vehicle to Shanti Sarovar to attend this session. What is a positive thought?
To gain more and more knowledge and
Let's not complicate it. You're coming, you've still not come here, right? You're at your home, right? And you're taking a positive thought to come here. What is a positive thought? Right.
to add value.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into the vehicle and reach. That's a positive thought. What's a negative thought?
Maybe I'll be late. Fall down from the bike.
It's a negative thing से हम जाएं या नहीं जाएं क्या
नहीं.
accident में driving और
Traffic मिलेगा.
A negative thought could be शायद गाड़ी स्टार्ट नहीं होगी, मैं नहीं जा पाऊंगा.
हाँ लेट हो गई इसलिए जाना
नहीं, वो सब नहीं. मैं जो बोला वहीं पे कट हो गया थॉट. न्यूट्रल थॉट क्या होगा? गाड़ी स्टार्ट हुई तो जाऊंगा, नहीं स्टार्ट हुई तो नहीं जाऊंगा. न्यूट्रल है. ये तीनों में अगर आप देखें, ऑल दीज थ्री थॉट्स, इफ यू बेसिकली ऑब्जर्व, they are not open-ended. You take a thought and the thought ends. Right? What are waste thoughts? Sister, please. Yes, your accident case.
I fell down from the bike.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're okay?
Yeah. Not now.
Okay.
2 months back, and I had a collarbone surgery also.
Wow.
So, like before 15 to 1 month, I was whenever I take the bike, I thought maybe I fall down.
Yeah.
The thought was going on, but that day when I fell down, I didn't think of any of the negative thoughts.
Right.
But it happened without my knowledge, without my control, it happened.
Right.
So maybe I was thinking that because of the negative thoughts which was keep going on for the last few days, few weeks, so it might affect. So I don't.
Okay. The negative thoughts that you've taken are probably deep rooted in your subconscious. Right? That is where the concept of manifestation comes. We'll talk about manifestation. So yeah, what is a waste thought in this situation? आप जो बोले ना शुरू करो, ये गाथा चलती रहेगी, ये सिलसिला, इट्स अ सिलसिला, इट इज अ 10,000 वाला लड़ी, द थॉट्स कीप गोइंग ऑन एंड ऑन एंड ऑन. गाड़ी स्टार्ट होती कि नहीं होती कि कितना ट्रैफिक रहता कि क्या है कि ये लोग को 6:30 बजे ही रखना था, 5 बजे लगा सकते थे ना, ट्रैफिक कम रहता था. द थॉट्स गो ऑन एंड ऑन एंड ऑन. देयर इज नो एंड टू मैडनेस.
Sometimes those negative thoughts are like a self-defense system.
Negative thoughts or waste thoughts?
Negative thoughts.
No, waste thoughts. Waste thoughts. So now, based on the definition of positive, negative, neutral, and waste, what do you think are the percentage of positive thoughts? 10 ना? क्या बात है? Negative? 10. No, more, 20. Huh? Equivalent to positive thoughts, okay. Neutral? Neutral is normally our day-to-day thing. I want water. Okay, let me go to the fridge and drink some. Neutral. There's no drain of energy or increase of energy. Neutral? What's the percentage?
50%.
50, waste?
No, I think waste is 90%. You are exceeding 90%.
Your positive was 10, waste is 90. What about negative and neutral?
All falls under that 10.
Huh?
Remaining all falls under that 10.
Rem-
That's what I believe.
It is said that 96 to 97% of the thoughts that we take are waste thoughts. I'd say 97, not even 96. I'm just giving the benefit of doubt saying 96, but some psychologists even say 98%, depending on, the people whom they speak to. But on an average, it's about 96 to 97%. Neutral is about 1%, negative is about 1%, and positive is about 1%. So that is why, though we don't know the reason as to why, more the thoughts, like you've not been able to give pinpoint a proper reason, right? When I asked you more thoughts, more better, why? This is the reason why.
Sir, can you repeat once more?
What do you want me to repeat, brother?
For the
Thoughts, right?
97% to 1%.
Waste thoughts.
You want me to define the thoughts? Let me give you another example. I am at a bus station. I have to go to my office, let's say. Positive thought will be, the bus will come, I will go. Negative thought will be, the bus will not come, I will not go. Neutral thought will be, if the bus comes, I'll go. If it doesn't come, I'll not go. Waste thought is, ये ड्राइवर ऐसा ही करता, बस का पंक्चर हुआ क्या, मैं ऑफिस जाऊंगा नहीं जा पाऊंगा टाइम पे, ये कंडक्टर कभी भी वैसा ही करता, ये ड्राइवर ऐसा ही. The thoughts go on and on and on.
So can we say like the neutral thoughts are questionable thoughts?
In the sense?
Like everything starts with if अगर ऐसा होगा तो I will do this. If अगर ऐसा नहीं होगा तो I will not do this.
See, again, it's very subjective, right? It is very subjective. To me, if there's an if and a but, it's waste. It's subjective again. If you're talking about programming and then you want a result, you say if so, that is neutral. Because like you mentioned before, you basically have to analyze ki if I code this, what will be the result? If I code that, what is going to be the result? That I understand. But normally in life, in a relationship, in a situation, if there's an if and a but, it is the beginning of the 10,000 wala ladi. Right?
Isn't like pre-prepare. Like for example, if I am here right now, I'm planning to come tomorrow. So if I'll find the Ola, I'll reach here. If I'll not find the Ola, I have to go for Uber.
Okay.
Yes? Like
That's a neutral thought. I don't get Ola, I'll go for Uber. Fine. What's the problem?
the statement starts from if only. ना अगर मुझे ये नहीं मिला तो I will go for this because I have to reach here.
So पहले आप ओला तो ट्राई करिए. पहले इससे क्यों ट्राई शुरू कर रहे हैं आप? आप ओला ऐप में जाइए ना.
So that's an action. That's an action.
So thought भी वही रहना चाहिए ना. Let me try Ola. Why are you starting with if? मना पहले ही मैनिफेस्ट कर रहे कि ओला में नहीं मिलेगा तो मैं ऊबर में जाऊंगी. Yes, it is that. You are manifesting it. That is why they say manifestation is so powerful. If you're starting your statement with an if, the result also will be if only.
ओला में भी नहीं होगा सर, उबेर में भी ना.
बिल्कुल, ऑटो भी नहीं मिलेगा, पैदल आना पड़ेगा. बराबर है.
इसलिए मुझे पॉजिटिव देना है.
यस. अगर आप पॉजिटिव रह भी नहीं सकते, आप ओला ऐप में जाइए, जब नहीं मिलेगा तब डिसाइड करिए ना. सो आई हैव दिस वेरी ब्यूटिफुल एक्सपीरियंस, राइट. I have some funda of, I had my own funda of, if you check in your baggage at an airport at a certain time, you'll get it the first. And if you do it at a certain time, you'll get it the last. So me and a very senior brother from Mount Abu, which is a headquarters, were traveling. And then, according to my same funda that I had, when we, basically got down, I told the brother, ये तो आखिरी में मिलेगा भाई, I think we should sit down. And then he said, why are you having such thought? The worst thing that as meditators, I was probably 1 year or 2 years into meditation at that point of time. The worst thing that he said is that without any thought, wait for the luggage. He practically showed me, अपना luggage अभी आएगा. It really came. Right? So you have many experiences like this. Even in my workspace, Rajesh bhai, water this. Even in my workspace, right, when, excuse me. Do this experimentation with my reportees, right? So I used to head a retail organization. It had about 2,000 employees. So I go into a store meeting and I tell these, the sales representatives that your thought is very important. Even to increase your sales, just try and experiment, how positive thoughts basically increase your sale, because ultimately it's good for you. It's good for you, it's good for the company, because सेल आप ज़्यादा करेंगे कंपनी के लिए अच्छा है, आपका इंसेंटिव भी बढ़ेगा. So one guy, he didn't agree. उससे क्या होगा, कुछ भी नहीं होगा. I said, you take a thought. He said, yes. Should we experiment? He said, yes. You take a thought for the next 7 days. घर से निकलने से पहले मेरी गाड़ी पंक्चर होगी. If I asked him to take a positive thought, he wouldn't understand that, he wouldn't do it, because he already was on a negative note, right? So I told him, take this thought before you start from your house to work for the next 7 days, that मेरी गाड़ी आज पंक्चर होगी. Just that one thought, don't take anything else. He calls me up the 3rd day and says, sir, टायर पंक्चर हो गया. He manifested that. He manifested that. So that is why they say that any kind of manifestation that you do with values will always have positive results. What you do in the present absolutely decides what happens in the future. It's as simple as that. Whether you believe it, whether you don't believe it, whether you want to believe it, it is the truth. Right? If you want to experiment it, you should experiment it. Because unless and until you experience it, you will not understand the power of manifestation. Or you will not understand the power of taking positive thoughts in the present. Or not understand the value of interacting and dealing with situations with values and not weaknesses. I'll give you another example, and this is something that I've created, but it's a very good example that basically teaches you how perspective basically changes, and how does it influence the thought, and how does it influence the actions, and how a person atones for the same. Let's say that, there's a there's this father and son, very rich. So the son goes at a very premier institution to basically learn music, right? And it so happens that he passes out with flying colors and then he comes back. Father asks, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to set up your own record company, or what is it that you want to do? Because we are financially good, we can basically go ahead and do anything. He says, no, Papa, I don't want to do anything, but let's wait. Because he's from an affluential family, his dad has a lot of contacts. So one day, his dad's friend comes up and says that I'm producing the movie. And he says that he does the introduction of his son, saying that, this guy is basically done his musical course from such and such premier institution. And then I think he could do the job for you. So he gives him the contract. Every time he gives in 100%, right? And every time this producer is basically making this, making sure that the music is heard by, you need a dipstick analysis, right? How is the music? So to his contacts, he goes ahead and sends these music pieces and everybody says, oh, this is so beautiful, this is so unique, this is lovely. And finally, one fine day, the picture releases, the musical album releases, and it's a great hit. A lot of people kept asking him in the past, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? He never introduced because he was waiting for the right time. So let's say at the success party, he basically calls this musician, his friend's son, and says that everybody's been asking, who is he? This is the guy. He gives his speech and then gets down, and then he's flocked by people, right? Everybody gives him a different compliment. The music is unique, it is so creative, it has a lot of depth, etc., etc., etc. And this person starts wondering, oh my God, is my music really so great? Does it really have that kind of, depth and soul that the other people are talking to? He just did his job, right? He didn't know how is it going to attract people, or whether it's going to be a hit, or whether it's going to be a flop. He didn't do anything. He just did his karma with absolute neutral thoughts that he is going to give his absolute best. As simple as that. And let's see what happens. So slowly he starts getting attracted to the fact that I am a good musician. There is attraction to that thought that I am a good musician now. And then as and when his life passes by, let's say next day or the day after, people keep calling him, and then he's attached to the idea that he's a great musician, right? People still keep calling him. Now he's addicted to the thought that he's a great musician, right? He gets his next project, he gets his next project, he gets his next project. What is the image in his mind that he has created? He's a great musician. He's addicted to that image that he's a great musician, right? When was he a great musician? Is it in the present? This was something that happened in the past, right? So there was a certain filmmaker who's approached him saying that, I want this kind of music. I want this kind of, percussions or whatever it is, because the script demands this. And then immediately, because of the past, because he's clinged on to that image that he's made in the past that he's a great musician, he shows non-flexibility. He says that, no. This is the concept of music that was great in that movie. I think you should go with the same flow of music here as well, ignoring the demands of the script or whatever it is. The producer was very, very humble in saying that, I don't think you would basically fit this project. So he went and he started giving feedback about this particular musician, saying that he's not flexible. He's clinged on to the image of his past that he's a very successful musician and everybody has to listen to him. What did I tell you before? If you're attached to an image, if you start using, now did he use values or did he use weaknesses, the musician? He used weaknesses, right? What happens once when you use weaknesses in a particular situation? You'll have to atone. What is atone? Pay the price. So it so happens that just by giving a particular realistic picture about this musician, the producer who's gone back saying that you're not going to work for me, he's a very humble guy. He hasn't even given a wrong picture. He just says that he's not willing to compromise on his style. The script demanded something else, but he's not willing. He says that he's only going to do things in a certain way. It's either my way or highway. Simple. So he atoned. He stopped getting his, further orders. People started taking him as a very egoistic musician who's clinged on to an image in the past. You'll have to atone for your sins. It's a very intricate thing, like I said. Karma, very bad. You do a negative thing, you use any kind of weaknesses, even the slightest weaknesses. I'm talking about probably even being irritated with someone else and carrying that irritation on into another conversation with another person and then using that weakness to interact with the person. You'll have to atone, you'll have to pay the price. ना option ही नहीं है. If you want your future to be great, right? If you want to learn from your past experiences, there's only one ground rule that you'll have to follow. Use values when dealing with situations, when interacting with people. That is how you can make your future great. That is that is the principle that you'll have to follow in the present. Right? All of us are working here, mostly. Yes? Close your eyes. I'm going to give you a particular situation. Close your eyes, everybody, and use visualization, okay? Let's say that you're walking into your office. You're walking into your office and you forgot your ID card, right? So at the security, you're stopped and you have a big argument with the security, saying that you're an employee of this particular organization. Why is it that you're not allowing me in? Right? And then after a very heated argument with the security, you go past the gate, park your vehicle, and go into the reception. Because you don't have the card, you can't swipe the card and basically get in, so you ask the receptionist to give you her card. She gives you a stare, a look, and then she gives you a card. You swipe, give the card back to her, and you walk into the office. You're called upon by the manager. Your manager finds out that there's an error in the work that you've submitted yesterday evening. And after that interaction with your manager, you go to your CEO because you've been called upon for this error, and then you interact with the CEO. Open your eyes. How were you with the security guard? How were you with the receptionist? What was your attitude with the manager? And what was your attitude with the CEO? You don't have to tell me. This is something that you'll have to answer yourself. If you've used values with the security, if you've used values at the receptionist, with the receptionist, if you used value with your manager, with the CEO, you don't have a choice. You will use values. If you used values with all the four people in the situation that was just discussed, you pass. But even with one person, if you've used your ego, thinking that ये security वाला मेरे को क्यों question कर रहा है? Why is this receptionist showing me so much of attitude? She's so below me. ये मैनेजर मेरे से एक लेवल ही तो ऊपर है, इतना गंदा फीडबैक क्यों दे रहा है? सीईओ के सामने तो झुकना ही पड़ता, वो तो ऑप्शन नहीं है. Now you tell me, because you've used weaknesses with the receptionist, with the security guard, wouldn't there be any kind of repercussions? How would it be? How would it be in a future interaction if you're disrespected by the security guard? Because he has this experience that he's clinged on to, that you're not humble, you've treated him like he's nothing. He doesn't care. Let's say he's a guy who doesn't care about his job, because if he leaves his job there, he'll get, a position at some other company. But we are not like that, right? We need at least 1 to 3 months to basically get a job. How would it be if your receptionist basically disrespects you the next time? Or forget about that. Let's say your mood is very good. One day you wish the receptionist good morning and he doesn't wish you back. How would it be? How would it be? Is that a repercussion or not? What would you feel if the receptionist doesn't wish you back a good morning? What would you feel? No feelings? You're all happy? Uncomfortable is still fine. You'll never wish her a good morning in your life ever again. Acha, you won't stop there. You will tell this to your colleagues. She's such an egoistic woman. I wished her good morning. She's not even wishing me a good morning back. Now what happens? Word of mouth. Receptionist is egoistic.
Karma is coming back.
Yes.
Because of why?
Imagine if you can do that, imagine what the receptionist can do to you. You only know your colleagues. Receptionist knows all the 2,000 people working in your organization. What is the impact that she'll have?
Because this guy did not give the value to the security, so the same thing comes to impact.
Absolutely.
Even the worst case was with the Shahrukh Khan. He is having his own that Kolkata Knight Riders team, and he was not allowed in that stadium.
I don't know about that, brother. Yeah, but yeah, okay.
He misbehaved with the security only. No?
Oh, okay. Right. So he wasn't allowed in the stadium.
He was not allowed for
See?
4 years.
Atonement.
He was
Atonement.
not allowed for 4 years.
Atonement. So this is an incident that came into the public. So thank you so much for bringing it up. See, he has to atone for his actions. There's no other option. So present is so important. If you want to present yourself with a great future, no, you will have to use value in your present. There's no other option. Irrespective of however big the situation might be. I love this story, right? I'll tell you this story. I make sure that I keep tell this in all of my lectures. Like I told you, it completely depends on us as to how do we make a mountain of a problem look like a mole, or a mole of a problem look like a mountain, right? So there's this school, it has this notorious gang of, there's a group of children, about 3 children, very notorious, right? So they say that, they decide that one day, let's prank the school. Not prank the principal, not prank the teacher. Let's prank the school. So what they do is, after, the school is closed, these guys come back with 3 goats. Okay? On the first goat, on both sides of its belly, they mark it 1 and 1. Okay? On the second goat, on both sides of the belly, they mark it 2 and 2. On the third goat, on both sides of its belly, they mark it 4 and 4. Right? Next day, the goats start, their thing. And then the entire school is basically searching for these goats. Finally, they found the first goat that is numbered 1. They find the second goat that is numbered 2. They find the third goat which is numbered 4. The entire school is searching for where is number 3, where is number 3, where is number 3. Is the number 3 really there? Does it exist? 99.9% of our problems are goat number 3. They don't exist. 99.9%.
Like the 99 Club story.
Absolutely. We are all searching for the goat number 3, which doesn't exist at all. Acha, we are searching, that is okay. We start using weaknesses in our interaction because we are not finding goat number 3. Which, to make situations even more worse. There's no goat number 3 in the first. कोई problem है ही नहीं वहाँ पे. We're using weaknesses. We are spoiling our stage. We are spoiling the environment. Atonement is mandatory, no? ये तो कोई option ही नहीं है. That's why, at least my dadis and my nanis zamana ka, whenever something bad used to happen to them, they used to say, "Em karma jeshnano," I mean Telugu lo. क्या फूटी कर्म किया मैंने, ऐसा मार लेते थे कि मेरे साथ ऐसा हो रहा है. उनको उसका मीनिंग नहीं पता है. They don't know the meaning of it. But the statement kept coming from generations because at some point of time, some generation knew the true meaning of this and they said that statement, but unfortunately only the statement is passed down and the meaning was not passed down. Even till date, grandparents say so many things, ऐसा नहीं करना, वैसा नहीं करना. The kid asks, क्यों नहीं करना? They say, shut your mouth. You shouldn't argue with elders. Why? Unfortunately, they don't know it. Neither they have the humility to say, I don't know the reason, beta, but even my grandparents have told the same thing. कुछ अच्छा ही होता होगा. Nobody has the decency to say all of that. They say, hey, बड़ों के साथ ऐसा बात नहीं करते. अभी वो छोटा है, आपका ग्रैंडसन. जब आप और थोड़ा ओल्ड होंगे और वो 15-16 इयर्स का होगा, फिर ये इंटरेक्शन के आधार पे आपका हालत क्या करेगा वो. आप जो सीड सो करेंगे ना, वही झाड़ बढ़ेगा. If you show him love, if you show him respect, if you show him any kind of, if you're dealing with a lot of values, he will also come back to you dealing with a lot of values. It could be parents, it could be grandparents, it could be anybody. So that is why children के साथ अगर हम लोग रफ डफ बात करेंगे, बड़े होकर वो भी अपने साथ रफ डफ ही बात करेंगे. That is what is going to happen. So, karma is a very, very intricate thing. The actions that we perform in the present actually determines what is it that happens to us in the future. And there's no point clinging on to the past. There's absolutely no point clinging on to the past because you can't change it. The first thing is you just can't change it. So, I don't know. Even in relationships, it's so funny. It could be with couples or it could be with, any relationship that you take. वो टाइम पे आपने ये बोला था. अरे वो तो 10 साल पहले था. आपने ये बोला. Is it worth it to pick up a fight what was said 10 years ago? Neither are you there, neither is he there. But you've clinged on to that one particular sentence that he or she has made and then you want to pick up a fight right now. What's it worth? What's it worth? And why do I say karma is such an intricate thing is also because what goes around comes around, right? Like, I don't know if this happened really or if this is just a story that was created, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I'll tell you 2 stories actually. The first story is pretty famous. There's this bhakt who goes to the temple every day he's very inspired by Lord Krishna. He goes to the Krishna temple, and then every day he keeps saying, आप इतने दिनों से जब से मैं ये मंदिर बना है आप खड़े ही हो, you're just standing there. You do a thing, na? I'll stand in your position for one day, right? You go on a holiday, go take rest. This Bhakt is offering Lord Krishna, saying that I will stand in your position, you take rest for one day. He has so much of love for Lord Krishna. So he keeps telling this for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year passes by. One fine day, लॉर्ड कृष्णा बेसिकली प्रत्यक्ष होके बोलता है कि ठीक है, आप इतने दिन से ये ऑफर दे रहे ना मेरे को, आई विल गो आउट ऑन अ हॉलीडे फॉर अ डे. So tomorrow you come at 4 o'clock, right? And till the day after tomorrow, 4 o'clock in the morning, you'll have to stand in my position, but there are certain rules that you'll have to follow if you have to stay in my position. What are they? Aankh, Kaan, Muh. Your eyes, your ears, and your mouth have to be shut. You should not perform any karma. If you're standing there, you should just stand there. End of the story. Because if you start listening, if you start seeing, you'll form impressions and then you'll do something which I do not want you to basically do or act. He says it's such a simple thing. Usme kya hai? I'll not act. So he comes the next day and then says, Bhagwan, aap jaiye. So he stands in place of Lord Krishna. Krishna is off and off. So that day what happens is, first there's this businessman who comes, right? And there is deal striking that is going on. He's a very, very dishonest businessman who doesn't have fair trade practices. So he keeps duping people and then he became rich. So he comes up with, he has this conversation with Lord Krishna saying that, but he's actually having the conversation with this person. He thinks it's Lord Krishna. He says that, this deal has to go through today. अगर ये डील हो गया तो मैं आपको इतना पेड़ा चढ़ाऊंगा, whatever deal striking happens. He says, it's easy, okay, I don't care. This person who's standing in place of Lord Krishna, he says, I don't care, it's okay. And then while going, he sees his wallet that is full of money that falls down. He remembers this. He should not talk, he should not act, he should not see. So, he's just quiet there. He's still standing. And then a very poor person basically comes. He says that I haven't been able to feed my family for so many days. Please, aap kuch karo. And then on the way back, he finds this purse that is loaded with money that belongs to the dishonest businessman. He turns back, he thanks Lord Krishna and then says, thank you so much, I'm going to feed my family with a full meal after so many days. And then there's a sailor that comes because he's about to set off on his voyage, and then he comes to pray at the temple asking for a successful trip back. He's a good sailor, honest sailor. Now the businessman lost his wallet. He barges into the temple with police and says that this sailor is the person who's basically stolen my purse, because he's the person who's there at the temple. So the police are basically arresting this person and then the sailor, and then they're taking him off the temple. This fellow is standing, in Lord Krishna's glory, bahut अन्याय हो रहा है. I can't keep quiet. So he says, hey, wait. He breaches the rules. He tells the police the entire story. He tells them that this person came, he was deal striking, and then there's a poor guy who came, he dropped his wallet, the poor guy took his wallet, the sailor is absolutely innocent. Right? So what the police does is, they leave the sailor is off on his journey, they arrest the poor man, and then they give the wallet to the rich man. Krishna comes back after his holiday the next day, right? And then asks him, how were things? Very proudly he says, you know what? I have righted a wrong. He says, what did you do? He explains him the entire story. He says, तुमने कितना गलत काम किया. Lord Krishna tells this person who was standing in his place, कितना गलत काम किया. He says, why? मैंने क्या गलत काम किया? I did the right thing. Lord Krishna says, you don't know what has happened. The businessman who's earned his money, he's earned it through dishonest means. उसका पाप कम होता था because a person who has basically found his wallet is using it for the right reasons, to feed his family. And the sailor is a very good person. If you would not have interfered, he would have been kept in prison. Because on the voyage going now, he's on right now, after 15 days there's going to be a storm, and then the entire boat is going to crash, and then he's going to die. Right? Why do I say karma is so intricate? Is because we don't know what happened or what are the karma that we have performed in the past. We don't know why is it that something good is happening to us right now, or why is it something bad is happening to us right now. A lot of us who are working think that usko kyun promotion mila, mere ko milna chahiye tha. Very common thing. I am 20 times better than him. I am 100 times better than him. I come early to work. I go after everyone goes. I slog every day. How is it that he is basically benefiting with a promotion? Why is it that I am not getting a promotion? Brothers and sisters, understand one thing. If somebody is getting something, good or bad, it's his karma. कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा किया होगा past में, that he's reaping the fruits of it right now. आपने कुछ गलत किया होगा जो आप भुगत रहे हैं अभी. But you know what is the key takeoff from all this? By having bad wishes for that person who's promoted and bad mouthing about him, you're not only messing up the present by having bad wishes for him, you're also messing up the future. क्योंकि अभी आप bad mouth करोगे, it is not about, there's this aura that every person has, right? I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but in a lot of situations when I was young, when my father used to, enter my house, I used to say, oh my God, I feel that he's very angry today. And इनसे बात नहीं करना है मेरे को. He never even used to speak a word. How do you know that? How do you know that? There's this aura that is created depending on what is the state of your mind at that particular point of time. Right? So if you have bad wishes for that person, and if you're bad-mouthing him, even within yourself or to yourself, that he doesn't deserve it, he's not worth it, there's this aura that is created for him that he can feel. And irrespective of whether you want it or not, he'll also start having bad wishes for you. It is so intricate. And he'll start bad-mouthing about you. And you'll say, how did this happen? I've never told him even a word. Hey, but remember, you've had bad wishes for him. You've had miserable thoughts for him saying that he doesn't deserve a promotion. You don't want to atone for that? You don't want to? That's how it is. So having bad thoughts for a particular person, if I have to imagine, is like you and him are right in front of each other. You're speaking very sweetly, but in one hand you have a knife and then you're hiding it at the back. If I have to visualize it, I would visualize it like that. Right? And then the other story that I wanted to tell you about karma is, in YouTube you find a lot of videos, right? Instant karma karke. Someone does something bad and then they get back the instant karma, be it good, be it bad. So there's this very big CEO who has, a very bad argument with his wife. And he fights with his wife and then goes to the office. In that bad mood, he shouts at everybody in the office. Everybody. He makes everyone's life miserable. Right? So The receptionist, after that particular day of work is completed, she is extremely frustrated with what has happened in the office because the boss has shouted on her really badly. She just couldn't let go of it. She goes home, she shouts on her children, saying, "You came back from school, you don't do your homework, you don't do this, don't do that." She hits them, and then they're off for tuition. They are also in a very bad mood. Mom has hit them, no? Now there's this dog that is passing by. Children also want to take out their frustration. No, they pick up a stone and throw on the dog.
Suitcase for
Huh?
carrying suitcase.
Yeah, I don't know that, but yeah. So the dog, it starts, shouting, and then it runs from one end of the street to the other end of the street, and then this guy basically stops because the CEO's car, because the dog is right in front of his car. He doesn't want to hurt the dog. And then he gets down, the dog basically bites him and runs away. Karma. What goes around comes around. Right? So you want your future to be great. You want to basically learn things from the past. Your present, this is what you'll have to do. Use values only. And समय भी ऐसा चल रहा है कि I love this statement. This is not the time for justice. This is the time for settlement. समझते हैं आप ये बात को? This is not the time for justice. This is the time for settlement. Time for justice क्यों नहीं है? मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ, उसके साथ ऐसा क्यों नहीं हुआ, मैंने क्या किया, उसने ऐसा क्या कर दिया? ये जस्टिस के लिए टाइम नहीं है. मैं, तू, मैं. This is the end of time. When I say it's the time for settlement, जो भी बुरा हमने किया अभी आ रहा है, जो भी अच्छा हमने किया वो भी आ रहा है. समय ऐसा है, कलयुग है, उसमें घोर कलयुग है. So the other day, this really happened, just not yesterday, but day before yesterday. I was just going, there's this guy who's coming on in the wrong route, and then I brake. He tells me this, right? I lower my window and then say, "Kya hua? Ruk to ruk, gaadi bagal mein le." I said, "What nonsense is this? You're coming in the wrong route." When I asked you, "Why are you coming in the wrong route?" He's saying, "Ruk to bagal mein ruk." I just drove past. What's the point in even talking to him? My learning was, maybe I could have given him good wishes, or spoke to him sweetly. I didn't. I need a lot of practice to do that. But I was neutral. I said, "ठीक है, वो उससे क्या बात करेंगे?" I just walked off. I just drove past him. अच्छा नहीं किया पर बुरा भी नहीं किया. That is what I'm happy about. Damage control. So, if you can't use great things, if you can't use values to deal with a particular situation, instead of damaging it even further, at least walk away from there. और वो भी attitude के साथ walk away नहीं, हाँ, आराम से. Because attitude के साथ walking off also has atonement. Right? So yeah, that was my perspective on how is it that you can deal with the present and make your future great and not cling on to the past. If there's anything that you want me to answer, if you have any kind of questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. Or else we'll call it a day. No questions? Great. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I wanted to understand is,
For example, if we are having a difficult time with some person, be it at home or at workplace, then all these teachings, what we have learned coming here, I know that this is some form of my karma coming back. What I wanted to understand is, I mean, in present situation, what should be our approach so that whatever is coming back from the past, through this pain which we will endure in the present, it kinds of settles and finishes and doesn't come again in the future.
It completely depends on how you respond to that particular person in that particular situation. If you're using weaknesses, which means the account in the past that is coming back now, which you're not liking, you are adding fuel to it. Because if you don't respond to that particular person or in that particular situation, if you're not using any virtues and dealing with that person with either patience or tolerance, then you're only worsening the situation. Because there's this account, bad is coming back, you're doing more bad will happen in the future. Rather, if you use your virtues and deal with patience and tolerance, you'll at least end it right now. So a lot of times you could be thinking, मैं क्यों झुकना? Why should I only bend? It is that person who's disrespecting me. It is his fault. It could be. I'm not denying it. But understand that there's something bad that you have done, and it is your state of mind which is important, and you want to clear the account. So, it's better to remain silent and use patience and tolerance.
Thank you, sir.
Sister, somebody else had. आप बोलिए, मुझे सुने में आ रहा है.
सर
एक मिनट सिस्टर, ये सिस्टर बोल रहे हैं, आपको इसके बाद आऊँ. जी बोलिए. मैनिफेस्टेशन आगे की बात है. पास्ट में अगर आपने कुछ किया उस उससे अगर दूसरे कोई इफेक्ट हुए तो वापस तो आएगा कुछ ना कुछ. आप ही इफेक्ट हुए तो फिर क्या होगा? फिर आपको ही प्रॉब्लम है ना. नॉर्मली ऐसा होता नहीं है ना. अगर आप कुछ नेगेटिव संकल्प किए, हम तो घर गृहस्थ में रहते, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता कि कोई दूसरा इफेक्ट हुआ है करके. ऐसा हो सकता है? हाउ टू स्टॉप ओवर थिंकिंग? यू शुड see, meditation a meditator is like an athlete. Okay? जैसा एथलीट खाने में कुछ भी बेकार सा नहीं खाता, he is very particular about what he eats. A meditator also is very, very, very particular about what thoughts he takes. Right? तो जब आप मेडिटेशन में, it's very easy to, normally सब लोग बोलते हैं, it's very easy that पॉजिटिव थॉट्स ही लेना, पॉजिटिव थॉट्स ही लेना. भाई, पर पॉजिटिव थॉट्स है क्या? सो व्हेन यू टेक द 7-day राजयोगा कोर्स हियर, यू विल नो व्हाट थॉट्स इज इट दैट यू विल हैव टू टेक व्हाइल मेडिटेशन. सो कैसे ख़त्म करेंगे इज बाय टेकिंग पॉजिटिव थॉट्स इटसेल्फ. सो लेट्स सॉरी नेगेटिव थॉट्स आए तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम इफ नेगेटिव थॉट्स कम, बिकॉज नेगेटिव थॉट्स डोंट हैव children and grandchildren and everything attached to it. It is just one thought. It is very easy to transform that. The problem is with waste thoughts.
If it keeps coming, like as I told already, somehow it was whenever I rise up by a scooter, I was thinking, like whenever it's even the small stone, I thought maybe I will.
You will fall again.
I will fall. No, not again. Before I fell down.
Okay.
I may fall down, and that day I was not expected, but I fell down.
Right.
So how come, as you told, it was manifested and
Yes, yes.
So
If a stone comes, I will fall. That is the manifestation that you did.
no, how can I stop it then? Like if it comes once.
So manifestation only happens with positive thoughts, right? Manifestation in your situation should not be, if a stone comes, I will not fall. That's not manifestation. Manifestation in your situation is, I will reach my destination safely. If there's any negative term in the thought that you take, I will not fall if a stone comes. Not is a negative word. It is not manifestation. I will reach my destination safely. There's no negative word in that. So always manifest positive thoughts. Take positive thoughts. That is how, these thoughts are going to basically subdue.
Sir,
I wanted to give, मैं आऊँगा आपके पास. So let me give you an example, right? Let's say that there's a dirty bucket of water, okay? The dirty bucket is our mind, and the dirty water in the bucket is the waste thoughts that we have. Now, physically, let's assume that I don't have the power to pick up the bucket, empty the dirty water. So what is it that I do? So even in this case, if I tell my mind that, hey, mind, stop waste thoughts, it is only going to tell us, get lost. I'm not going to listen to you. So what do you do in this situation? Somehow we gather the strength to push the bucket of dirty water under a freshwater tap, open the freshwater tap. You will see that after an hour or 2 hours, depending on the pressure of water that comes from the freshwater tap, the dirty bucket will no more have, dirty water. Now here, when I say garner the strength somehow and push the dirty bucket of water under a freshwater tap is, you'll have to take out your time for yourself and come to meditation and start taking these positive thoughts. When I say the time that it takes for the dirty water to be completely drained and the bucket of water being filled with only fresh water is, how much time are you taking out for yourself in meditation and feeding yourself positive thoughts? आप जितना पॉजिटिव थॉट फीड करोगे उतना जल्दी आपका वेस्ट जो है कम होता जाएगा. सिस्टर,
करेंगे तो 7 पीढ़ी तक अपने साथ गलत होगा. अभी आप वही बोले कर्मा, जैसे प्रमोशन मिल गया तो शायद हम हो सकता कुछ गलत करें, इसलिए हमारे साथ गलत हो रहा, लेकिन हम अभी अच्छा करने के बावजूद भी हमारे साथ गलत ही होता.
अभी पहले तो ये पीढ़ियों का सिर्फ डराने के लिए बोलते थे. आप जो करते आप तक ही सीमित रहता. आपके बाल बच्चों को, हस्बैंड को, आपके पिताजी को, माताजी को ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होता. पहले तो वो याद रखिए, वो सिर्फ डराने के लिए बोलते थे. क्यों ज़्यादा डराना? ताकि कुछ गलत काम नहीं करेंगे आप, इसलिए. और जो रही बात, आप अभी अच्छे कर रहे फिर भी आपके साथ गलत ही हो रहा. आप अच्छे कर रहे अब, शायद पहले आपने कुछ गलत किया तो उसका जो भी है आपको अभी भुगतना पड़ रहा है. आप अभी अच्छे कर रहे हैं ना, तो आगे जाके आपके साथ बहुत अच्छा होएगा. ज़्यादातर हम ये देखते कि कोई डिसऑनेस्ट है या कोई पाप कर्म कर रहा, उसका ज़िंदगी अच्छा है, वही अच्छा है, यही देख के हम लोग उसको एक इंस्पिरेशन की तरह लेते ना. ये बहुत गलत है. वो ना ऐसा, एक्चुअली कर्मा ये कहता है कि उसका जो भी पुण्य का खाता था अभी वो ख़त्म होके खा रहा है वो, इसलिए उसके साथ अच्छा हो रहा है. पर जिस दिन वो ख़त्म होगा उसका बुराई देख के फिर बहुत डर जाएंगे लोग. तो let us not take wrong examples and then put them on a pedestal and then epitomize them कि ठीक है मैं इसको ही फॉलो करूँगा, ये इतना गलत कर रहा है, इसके साथ इतना अच्छा हो रहा है, मैं भी गलत करूँगी. ज़माने का छोड़िए ना जी, हम अच्छे बनेंगे ना. हमको ज़माने के साथ क्या करना है? हम अच्छे करेंगे, बस हम अच्छे करेंगे, हमारे साथ अच्छा होगा. सिंपल. मेडिटेशन करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि मेरे को पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम तो पता नहीं है, पर कौन से मीठे बोल बोल के आपके बच्चों को भी आप शांत कर सकते हैं. जब मेडिटेशन आप करते जाएंगे तो आ जाएगा, आप भगवान आपको देगा कि ये बोलो वो शांत हो जाएगा करके. इसका ये सबका प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना, ये परमानेंट है इलाज, पर परमानेंट इलाज को, हमारा रोग भी तो बहुत जन्मों का है ना, हमारा रोग तो टाइम बहुत लगता है. तो हम ऐसा नॉर्मली होता है कि धीरज खो देते हैं बीच में. हम सोचते हैं कि इतना सब कुछ मैं अच्छा कर रहा हूँ फिर भी कुछ अच्छा ही नहीं हो रहा है, पर एफर्ट उतना ज़्यादा हम लोग नहीं लगाते हैं। जिस दिन एफर्ट लगाएंगे, कंसिस्टेंट एफर्ट लगाएंगे, परमानेंट रिजल्ट आएगा, ऐसा है। ओके, थैंक यू सो मच, यू बीन अ वंडरफुल ऑडियंस।